Well, the way I look at it in terms of going from Newsnight to Google was Newsnight. I was interested in really trying to give people access to information in order to make up their own minds about a series of issues. And really, I see it as a natural progression going to Google, which is looking at access to information on a much, much grander global industrial scale. The internet revolution has really given everyone the access to the tools of production and publication. So it's very much like the music industry in the 70s, for example, that we had big bands like Led Zeppelin who were making huge, expensive albums and months in the studio, and then suddenly along came garage bands and anyone could make a record for a very little amount of money. That's what we're seeing at the moment on the internet. Anyone can make a video, anyone can blog, anyone can tweet, and have access to 1 billion people across the world.
I work a lot harder working on Alphaville. It's intense, it's early mornings, we don't have coffee breaks, we don't just wander around the water cooler. It is hard work, but actually it is the most fun I've had in journalism, and I've been in journalism more than a couple of decades. It's fun because it's fast, it's very flexible, fluid, fast changing. It's quite live, really.
Journalists and bloggers tend to, they behave in similar ways in many ways, but there are key differences. First of all, obviously bloggers rarely have the salaries and infrastructure that journalists have, but also they behave in a much more community-orientated way. So, for example, on my website, Londonist, we source all of our images from the community. We have a library of 50,000 photographs of London which we can draw on. They're all provided by our readers, whereas a traditional journalist would have to source that material from a photo library, perhaps pay for it. And we also use things like Twitter and services like that to get our leads for our stories in ways that journalists are now cluing into a bit more, but perhaps haven't traditionally mined as much as we have.
Newspapers have been in a crisis for some time. The fact is the crisis is worsening. I do think we are reaching that point where deep structural reform is inevitable. What form that takes is yet to be debated, but we are at the beginning, in my view, of a very difficult period. Traditional newspaper media is clunky, it's slow, it's resource hungry. Some people would say it's actually fat, slow, overmanned. In the modern world, you have to be kind of lean and fast.
The big challenge for the newspaper industry today is that if you were inventing journalism from scratch, you probably wouldn't start from here. So the internet allows journalists to update material many times a day and to distribute that to millions, indeed billions of people around the world instantly. There's no need to put that onto newsprint, to have deadlines, to distribute that with lorries around the country. So the internet has changed the game, and that's a huge challenge for the newspaper industry.
The future, well, there are so many different ways this can go, and nobody can say with 100% certainty. I think we're going to see some kind of coalescence between the way that journalists currently source their news and produce their news and people read it, and the way bloggers do, and then both bringing also their communities to play as well. So some kind of shared environment where the blogger, the journalist and the community can all have input into the content.
Investigative journalism will always be important. It's important for society. A lot of people, raise the point that somehow investigative journalism will disappear in the digital age. That's poppycock in my view. It's just not right. What you're seeing quite specifically is the growth of citizens and specialists actually adding their knowledge to any given investigation. But you're also seeing traditional journalists using new tools, new technological tools that make actual investigations a lot quicker and a lot more kind of they are able to kind of yield results to a much kind of deeper degree than in the past. My own experience over the last 2-3 years is that myself and my colleagues have done more investigative work than, say, in the past decade.